Hello, loves. Welcome back to the podcast. It's Nina with Passion Squared. We have another awesome guest joining us. Sean is a lease based salon owner of Entrust Hair in Portland, Oregon. He's an educator, an awesome human being, also happens to be my neighbor. Welcome, Sean, to the podcast.
Hi, Nina. How are you? Thanks for having me,
It,
neighbor.
neighbor, I know. It's so cool that it's so cool to have you because we've been talking about this, having you on the pod for a long time, but also it's your first time. So that's always exciting. So I have a ton of questions for you, of course. Uh Entrust just celebrated its 14th birthday at the beginning of May. First of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
Um,
Um,
Amazing.
it's crazy. Lots happened in 14 years.
I'll never forget the first time I was at your salon. I was blown away. I am a client of your salon. It is just such a cool vibe. What inspired you to actually open a salon in the first place?
So I got to give a little side note here. So it is 14 years of Entrust Hair in its current location, but Entrust actually opened down the street a year prior.
Oh, wow.
So when I was getting out of beauty school in end of 2008, I think it was, yeah. And it was like early 2009, and I was working in a salon, and I like kind of had I definitely had more of an ego than I should have. Of course, shocking. I know you're shocked. Um, and at the time in Portland, there weren't commissioned salons available. There was like two, and they were like they would retrain you how to do it their way. It wasn't anything I was interested in. And then it was like just chain salons, and I'm like, well, I don't want to do that. So I went straight to leasing at a salon that belonged to my old hairdresser, and it was like two sisters that owned it. It was great. Like they were great. Like I loved them. I had a good time working there, but it just like wasn't my vibe. The salon was called Sparkle Beauty Bar. And can you picture me working in a
No,
salon
I
called
was just gonna
Sparkle Beauty
say
Bar?
the minute
I
I heard
mean,
sparkle,
yeah.
I'm like, yeah, no.
And after a few months, like I was just like, I don't know. I kind of started looking around for other places to work and seeing who was hiring. And this man and woman in Portland. It was a woman who was like an interior designer and a guy who was like at another well-established Portland salon. We're opening like this mega salon in the Pearl District. I mean, money was no object. And I went and interviewed with them. They offered me a job, and just something about it, like I didn't know. I had only been doing hair for like a few months out of school. And I'm just looking at this and I'm like, this doesn't seem like it's going to work. Like the amount of money that they're putting into here, just this doesn't seem like it would fit Portland. So around that time, a friend of mine that was a hairdresser and he had been doing hair for a while, he came to me and he's like, "We should open a salon." And I was like, "We totally should." And so I had already had a company called Entrust Clothing that I had had since 2003. And I already had a name, already had a logo. He's like, we should just use that for a salon. And I was like, cool. So I went and got us a space. We started building it out. And long story short, it became clear pretty early on that he had no interest in doing anything other than what he was doing. He just wanted to come in and do his clients. I was new starting out. I didn't have a lot of clients. I was trying to think of ideas to get people in, and he just kind of wasn't into any of it. And it's like, that's fine if you don't like what I have to say or don't agree with me, but like, but what's your idea? And there was no counterpoint. It was just like, oh, I don't want to do that. I'm like, cool, what do you want to do? And he's like, I don't know. So after almost a year of that, I decided that I needed out. So I told him, I was like, I'm leaving. Like, the salon's yours. Everything that I've done here, everything that I've built out, everything here is yours. I want to walk away clean. I want to off the lease. So the only stipulation is I'm taking the name with me. And I even went as far as to build him a new website.
Mm.
I even went that far to like build him a website. I built that would direct people to him, and so there would be no confusion. And I found the space I have now, which we celebrate 14 years. And I always like to make this joke that I think spite is the most powerful motivator. And so I kind of like, it was kind of a spite salon, and around that time, my first marriage was ending, and I was just kind of in this situation of I didn't really have a place to live and I didn't really have a clientele, but I signed a 5-year lease on
Oh
the
my
salon that I was going
God.
to build out. And people always say like, "Oh, what made you successful and what made it work?" And I'm like, "Well, it worked because it had to. Like, I
Mm,
didn't have a plan B." And I think having a plan B is like one of the worst things you can have, because the second you have a plan B, you've lost focus on plan A.
mm,
And so I had to figure it out. I had to make it work. And it's been 14 years, and the salon's seen a lot of changes in 14 years. We've had a lot of people come and go. We've had stylists come and go. We've had different interior designs come and go. And I've just always wanted, my vision from day one was I always wanted a space where obviously you're not going to make everyone happy and not everyone's going to like think it's cool, but I wanted a place that everyone felt welcome in. You
mm,
know, I'm proud that I have an extremely diverse clientele. Um, I don't have to I don't have to say that like I'm an inclusive hairdresser because it's just what I am.
mm,
I have clients, young, old, male, female, like everything. And I like doing hair, and that was my vision. And my kind of my tagline and slogan I came up with for the salon a long time ago was that we exist for you. And whatever you need us to be, like we will be. If you want to come in and get a great haircut and not talk to me, cool. If you want to come in and complain and tell me about your life, like cool. Like I'm here for you. I'm not here. This isn't about me. And that's what I learned early on. Like early on, it was about me. And I feel like things started to change when I took that away and I made it about the clients and the other stylists and everyone else's experience. Because to me, it's not just important that a client has a good experience in the salon. It's important to me that my stylists have a good experience working there.
a
And
hundred
that
percent.
my clients, when they come in, if they have an interaction with another stylist, that they have a good experience with that other stylist. And that hasn't always been the case in the past, unfortunately, but I'm happy to say that now it's like it's the best it's ever been.
I love that. And it's such a great reminder about brand story and brand strategy, because you don't have to fucking bring that into everything. However, what you said is gold, and people that haven't yet been exposed to brand fundamentals think, whether it's a business brand or a personal brand, think the brand's about them, and the brand is never about us. It's always about who we serve. And so you said it right. This is about you, that audience of one with shared values and ideas and visions of what's important to them. And you've clearly done that now. So 14 years, long time. You started out as an employment based salon, but then you made the decision to change your business model to a lease based salon. Can you share a little bit about your thought process behind that? And has anything changed from the client perspective, if you think about the experience and energy of the salon?
So I I had a vision early on that I wanted to have an employment based salon. I wanted to have a team. I wanted to have people that work together. I wanted to be able to say, hey, I'm running a few minutes behind. Would you mind shampooing this client for me? Would you mind starting laundry? Would you mind doing this? Would you mind sweeping up? Whatever. And they would just do it because they would know that if they needed me to do that for them, I would do that for them. And I wanted everyone to work together, right? Because I just felt like that was the way to do it. And just going in and out of salons early on, and my friends that were hairdressers, it was like everyone was just kind of in it for themselves, and everyone was just kind of doing what they wanted to do. And I'm just like, the salon has no cohesiveness. And maybe that's like the Paul Mitchell brainwashing in me from like being in school and like having a dress code and being held accountable for things. And like, I
Mhm.
wanted that to carry over into the salon. And it did, and it worked well until it didn't. And it got to the point where the industry was changing and I was resisting it, right? There was a reason there were no commission salons. And I had at one point I had a handful of people working there and things were good. And I was kind of at past that like break even point where it's like, okay, the money that I'm making is justifying the cost to make this money, right? It's a lot more expensive to keep my lights on as a commission salon than it is a lease salon. Payroll is expensive, payroll taxes, all that stuff adds a lot of variables to it. And I had a stylist that was with me for probably close to 5 years, and she left. And I was sad because she was like probably like one of the best stylists I ever had, like just an awesome worker, just always great attitude, just nobody ever complained about her. She was just a great person to have in the salon. And she left. She wanted the opportunity to be independent. She
Mm.
wanted to go outside of her comfort zone and do that. And I completely understood. And like her and I are like still friends to this day, and we still talk. And um, at the time, I didn't offer her that option. And maybe if I did, she would have stayed. Maybe not. Maybe she just wanted a fresh start somewhere else. But looking back, I wish I would have given stylist a path and said, you start on commission and we can work our way down that road. Um, but I was proud of her. I was proud of her to go on her own because she really worked hard to build her clientele. And then right after she left, another stylist left with her, and I had always kind of butted heads with that stylist anyway. It just wasn't a good fit, and I probably shouldn't have kept like nothing bad. There were no issues or anything. It just her and I just didn't see eye to eye. But I just kept her around because I was like, well, I need the money. And then she left, and shortly after that, my wife was pregnant with our first, and she was going to be stepping away, and there just wasn't enough bodies in the salon to justify keeping it an employment based. And with me being a new dad and wanting to be around more, I just didn't have the same energy to put into it. So that was what kind of like forced me into more of a lease space, but
Mm-hmm.
it was actually nice. And then I started to find better people, and I've always kind of taken the tact of like people will find you.
Mm.
um when you go out and look for people, there's always like the same handful of people that are always looking for salons to work in because they're always jumping from salon to salon. And I've had plenty of bad people in my salon, like bad employees, bad stylists, that it's just not worth going down that road. I think you can get away with it if you've got like a 20, 30 chair salon and you have a lot of people in and out, and one person isn't going to screw up the vibe too much. But
Mm.
the salon, like it's not big. We don't have a ton of space. We don't have a big back room. You get like one bad attitude in there and it just goes down real quick. And I've in the past I've overlooked that because I'm like, well, this person's really good. They're really good at doing hair. They're a really good hair cutter. They're a really good colorist. But that doesn't matter, as you know, right? That's only
A
part of it.
100%. 100%.
So, but I am seeing like, I mean, I'm not going to do this. I don't have it in me at this point to go back to like to do an employment based salon, but I am starting to see a push for that again. I am starting to see a change where people want that again. And I think, right or wrong, I'm not here to judge, but a lot of people just don't want to work as hard as other people and as they used to maybe, and they just want to go in and just kind of have that security. And
And also learn that, what,
yeah,
business ownership isn't for me.
totally.
We're all on different self-awareness journeys,
Yeah.
and sometimes we have to like actually go try
And
it.
I had someone that came to work for me recently that was someone I've known for like 10 years, hairdresser, living in Seattle, moved to Portland. She wanted to come work with me and she did. And, at her phase in life, just starting over and building a clientele just wasn't something that she had in her. So she went to go she needed a commission spot. So
Sure.
I feel like you're seeing that more and more. You're seeing people, Portland's a town that people move in and out of a lot.
Yeah.
So people move here. You have a lot of hairdressers that move here, and it's nice for them to have a commission option to go to because not everybody. I know a lot of good hairdressers that aren't good at building clients. They're good at maintaining clients and retaining and keeping clients if they're fed clients, but they're just not good at. They're not going to go out and build a clientele. So they need to have a place that'll do that for them, and that's great. I mean, I tell people like when I go teach in schools, I tell people to go to every type of salon because there isn't a one size fits all. You know, what works for me might not work for you. We all have different needs.
100%. Yeah. And I, in A school in the January 2024 trends and outlooks workshop, I was talking about that trend that I've been seeing for probably the last year, maybe year and a half. And there were a group of people that did think that they wanted to be independent and they gave it a shot and it didn't work out. And I think that that's a great opportunity for really solid employment based salons with strong leadership and that provide value. You've got to add that value, or else why not go try to be on your
Yeah.
own. When you look at the salon now, the fact that it's all lease based, has there been any shift in client experience? Is it better? Is it the same? Because I mean, I don't notice a difference at all. To me, the salon has always been so like the vibe is the vibe. It's
Yeah.
so it's still so cool.
I can't say that, I can't say there's really been a difference. And I think that's just in the people that are there. But it's funny, the girl that works next to me, she's been with me this September, it'll be 5 years, which will be like one of the longest people that I've had working with me. She came from a salon previously where it was an employment based. They weren't allowed to talk to other clients. They weren't allowed to interact with like their coworker's client or anything. And because
What?
their boss's vision was that it was supposed to be about your client, you weren't supposed to distract from your client. And so it was really funny when she started because I was like, man, she's like not very like talkative. And it was like I would like talk to her, I would like try to just engage with her clients, and everybody would just kind of look at me like, what are you doing?
Oh my
And then she
gosh.
told me, she's like, yeah, like we weren't allowed to talk to other people. And I'm like, that would be so like shocking that salon's not there anymore. But I'm just like, that would be so weird.
Yeah, especially because your salon has always been like, anytime I'm in there, with other clients in there, everybody's talking. Like it's
Yeah,
that vibe. Now, again, not all salons are like that, and
right.
different brands, and different experiences, different energy. But I love that about your space because it is so open yet intimate, and everyone's so conversational. You were talking about, I want to jump to, you were talking about some people are not really that skilled at building a clientele on their own. You have built the most incredible, loyal, solid, consistent clientele for yourself with very little reliance on social media. Whereas for the last 12, 10, 12 years since Fashion Square started, it's always been social, social, social. So, and I always try to remind folks that it's, there's more, there's more than just
Yeah.
social. Can you tell us a little bit about how have you built this amazing clientele? How do you
I
retain
mean,
your clients? How does it all work?
I guess I'm lucky that when I started hair, social media didn't really exist, right? Like I don't think I got on Facebook until I was out of beauty school. Like I was still on MySpace in beauty school. And we didn't think about, I didn't really think about like using Facebook and MySpace to build clients. You know, I went to beauty school in like a weird time, I feel like, because like 16 years ago was like this in between, right? Like anybody
Mm,
who's been to beauty school within the last 10 years has learned way more than I learned in beauty school, way more than you learned. Like the techniques have changed and they've been educated accordingly. Where like 16 years ago, like balayage wasn't taught. Like all these like color techniques weren't taught. And it wasn't really, but what was taught and what was stressed upon us was like building your clientele. And the thing I learned in school that has stuck with me to this day is there's three clients. Do you know what this? You know where I'm going with this? There's old money, no money, and new money. And for me, I was like, I want old money and I want new money. I don't want no money clients. I don't do vivid hair, right? Like that's not my specialty because those typically are considered no money clients. They're going to save up, you're going to see them one time and then you're going to move on, or the 6 hour, like $1,000 color correction, you're going to see them one time. They're going to save up. And it's like, my best clients are my old money. My favorite client, I say all the time, is Mary. Mary's 81 years old. I've been doing Mary's hair for 12 years. I've been doing Mary's hair through 3 decades of her life. Mary
Mm.
comes in every 5 weeks. It's a root touch up. It's a haircut. See you in 5 weeks. Never misses without fail. Like, I wish that was my whole day of doing hair. And
Shout
then
out to Mary.
and then your new money clients are, your ones who, they're out of college, they're a few years into their career, they're getting settled, maybe they're recently married, their husband works, has a good job. They have money. They have money to spend on their appearance. They're going to come in every 6, 8, whatever weeks. So those are the two clients that I really focus on, is like the old money and the new money. And, building, like said, like when I was in school, there wasn't Instagram, there wasn't really these social media. And it was like, man, I had to like go out, and I would go out and talk to people, and I would go sit at a bar and be like, hey, I do hair, like not far from here. Like, who does your hair? And I got like half my clients from this karaoke bar that I would always go to. And it was like, I met this girl and her cousin was there with her, and then they would both come in, and the girl like lived 2 blocks from the salon, and then their other friend would come in, and then my client Amanda, who I did the other day, she was always there because her boyfriend lived down the street. And I had a friend Kevin who was like very like he was like the influential one in his group, right? So I did his hair all the time, and he would send all his like college friends and everything. And it's like some of those clients like still come in. And it's like, I've been doing Kevin's hair since beauty school. And Kevin sent me this person, and this person knew this person that sent me this person. And it's really just, what I learned is like being quiet and letting the work speak for itself, right? If you do good hair and you treat people well, they will come back. If you treat people well and do average or sub-average hair, they will come back until they find someone better.
So powerful.
And I still like, it's still word of mouth, and I feel like social media is kind of the what's the word I'm looking for? It's kind of the unnecessary evil, right? It's the thing we like have to use, but not like we feel like we need to use it. I mean,
I was
it
going to
works.
say icing on the cake, and you say
Yeah,
unnecessary, necessary evil. That is such a great depiction of you and I as,
I know.
as human
Because
beings.
we see what other people are doing, right? We're like, oh, this person's doing this beautiful 8 hour color correction. Where did they find that client to pay for that? And it's like, do we know if that client paid for that? Do we know if that was a model? Do we know? No.
Oh
Everything on,
yeah, the comparison thing is
right.
is
Like
ridiculous.
everything is out of context.
100% out of context.
I mean, if you look at my Instagram, it's like my real clients, it's like real people. It's like I try to not, I
Yeah,
try to make it, I try to make it like realistic in what it is.
I love that. I love that. You spend a quite a bit of time teaching haircutting education and visiting salons. Is there any what are you seeing right now, like in terms of like how's everyone doing? How's Are there any like kind of common kind of patterns
It's
you're
it's
seeing?
weird. I mean, it's probably like, in the time I've been doing hair, like 16 years now, like it's weird. I feel like some people are super busy, like busier than they've ever been. And then other people are like kind of struggling and less busy. And I think we could spend hours talking about why that is and
Mm,
blaming certain things. Um, but it's just, it's a different time. I feel like stylists in general are like, I don't want to work 5 days a week. I don't want to work 6 days a week. That's great. Like, they want to work 3, 4 days a week. And if they can get it in during those days and make the money they want to make, then good for them. Right. Like, more power to them. But I feel like what's happening is we're seeing the young people who like aren't busy enough to make that decision. They want to follow that business model. They want to work 3 days a week and then wonder why they're not busy and not making money. And it's like, well, you got to be available when people are available. And then you get to choose that. Like after 16 years, I'm not working Saturdays. I mean, I work like one Saturday a month, but it's taken me like 16 years to get to that point where like I don't want to work Saturdays anymore. And I feel like, hair like salons are dead on Tuesdays and stylists are working like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Thursday through Sunday. And, some work Sunday, Mondays. Like I started working Mondays in the salon. And I think that's like a great extra day for me to pick up because a lot of people don't work on
Ooh.
Mondays.
Oh, I'm so
And
happy to hear that. I'm gonna have to book a reservation.
yeah, like Monday is great for me because I'm like, typically I would just sit at home and I'm like, well, my wife's working, my kids are in school, like I can go in the salon and work and kind of make up for like not working on Saturdays. I'm somebody that really likes to work. I think it's one of the greatest feelings to like go in and go to work and leave like fulfilled and satisfied that you did a good job. And I can't say that everybody feels that way, and that's fine.
Well,
Everybody,
I think you made a really important point though, is that there's different phases in our careers and different times. And going back to understanding just basic supply and demand, right? So that's a big part of it. And I think because social media, that lack of context, right? That lack of nuance, this black and white thinking, these absolutes, these hot takes, the kids are getting a little confused as to what does it really take to build a solid clientele. There's a lot of distraction, a lot of shiny objects. And so I can see how it would be difficult just coming out of school and not really understanding that there is a phase. Now it'll be different for everyone, but
yeah,
there is a point, a phase of time where you are actually building your foundation. And when you're building your reputation, when you're building demand, when you're building your brand, when you're building the value that your brand delivers. And that's a really good point. It gets really, really confusing. Um, really confusing. And kind of going back to what you said about focusing on the client, that this is about the client. And again, that lack of context and nuance that's happening online, people are building their schedules based on themselves more than building schedules based on where they're at in their business and their desired outcomes of their business. And it's a big mismatch, right?
totally.
A big mismatch. So speaking of working, you have two young children, an amazing wife who has an incredible career. You own a few businesses. You are working behind the chair. How in the fuck do you and Lauren navigate all the things when we when we
Lots of
you
coffee.
know seriously though, I talk a lot about rhythm, as you know. And uh how do you all find your rhythm?
It's hard, and I think either you and I have talked about this directly or indirectly, and I've heard you mention it is like, the myth is balance. Balance isn't real,
Yes.
right? Like some days you have it figured out and other days you don't. I will be honest and say that like this last week was extremely trying, both physically and mentally. I got really sick last week. I had to cancel like 3 days of work. That's stressful. Um, then I get better. Then my wife started to not feel well, and my kids decided that they were just going to be terrible this weekend, like and not listen more than usual. And it just compounds, and you're just like, this this just didn't happen today, and that's okay. And I think every day we get to wake up and start over. And I think that's what's great, right? We get to wake up, we get to start over. And what keeps me going, what I need is like I have a routine. And because I have a routine, I stick to it. And if one day gets messed up, it's okay because I have the routine and I'll get back to it.
Mm.
But I need to know like I wake up, I drop the kids off in the morning. My wife drops the kids off in the morning. Sometimes we go together. And then I go to the gym. And that's my time every day. Like I go to the gym every morning because typically like the kids are in school at 8 o'clock and I usually don't need to be anywhere or do anything till 10. So I have like 2 hours every day between 8 and 10 to just for like me time and do what I need to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I feel like, okay, I got my stuff out of the way. I had my coffee. I had my time on social media. I had my time at the gym or whatever. Now I can start my day. And that's the one thing that I really stress to everybody is that like having a routine is important. Whatever floats your boat, whatever you're into, you got to take some time at the start of the day for yourself. If you want to lay around in bed and scroll your phone, get up a half hour earlier, hour earlier, do that. Um, and I think that's really been that's really been my biggest thing because it is hard. I also like it to be hard because I like to have that drive to keep going.
Mm.
If my life was as simple as it was 10 years ago, I don't know that I'd have a lot of drive and motivation, right? Like,
Mm.
so I don't know if that's the best, and I know that doesn't work for a lot of people, but I like to give myself a reason to like get up and go and keep moving.
I mean, I feel like we all need a reason to get up,
Yeah.
you
And
know?
coffee, lots of coffee. Like I drink enough caffeine to kill a normal person these days.
Lots of espresso,
Yeah.
lots of coffee. I love that. Do you have a favorite quote? Or speaking of like why we get up in the morning or something that kind of like drives you?
I mean, like I know it's gonna sound cliche. And I think one of the greatest things I ever did in my life is read the book Start with Why, thanks to
Mm.
you. And it's just all, it's just as simple as people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it, you
Shout
know?
out to Simon Sinek,
I know he's
my
the best.
birthday twin.
That's awesome. It's a good birthday to share.
Sean, thank you so much for hanging out with us on the pod. Where can we find you on the socials?
So my personal social media is at Sean Entrust, SeanEntrust. And then my salon is Entrust Hair PDX.
Love it. Love it. I'm so grateful for you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's
I'm
always great to
so
see you. I think this is the first time in a while that we've just chatted over Zoom and not in person.
I know, I know. And we really are neighbors, by the way.
I know.
I send all my Mr. Squirrels down there to say hi.
A lot of them
Can
over
you
here.
see them? Can you see their
Yeah.
peanuts that they
We even
sent
get
me?
raccoons over here from time to time hanging out.
Oh my God, send the raccoons to me,
Okay.
will you? Please tell them this is the place to be. There's food, there's drink, this is the party house for the animals. Okay, so just we Sean, please tell them that. Will
Okay.
you?
I'll let
Okay.
them know.
I appreciate that. Sean, thank you so much. Please follow him. Not only is Sean an awesome business owner and leader, Sean is actually a fucking awesome hairdresser. So you could definitely get some inspo um, on that from him by following his pages. You can find us on the socials at Passion Squared on the web, passionsquared.net. And our DMs are always open. You can always email us at awesome@passionsquared.net. I'm so grateful for all of you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your feedback. I love hearing from you. I hope you have a peaceful day. Bye.